Good morning. Hope everybody's doing well. I also hope everybody's got signed up for my Google Classroom. I've sent out several links or reminds and emails, so hopefully everybody's gotten that and is able to get on it and utilize it and see what's going on. Several of you turned in problems. I've graded those and returned them to you. And like I said, this is new for me. Using the Google Classroom is new for me. So just be patient, but we'll get through it and it'll all work out. I'll try to put some quizzes on there. There's not going to be extremely long quizzes, so we'll probably kind of change the way we're going about it so much. It'll be hard to do like a big test, creating a big test and doing things of that nature. So I'll probably just after each lesson that we kind of go through, or maybe a combination of two lessons, put a couple questions up there. May do it in quiz form. I'm just going to mess with that, so just be patient. But and just have you guys answer those. I'll grade them, and that's kind of how we'll do your grade. So it'll be a bunch of smaller type grades as opposed to just a large 100-point grade or things of that nature. So I've already asked you the one question about the 6 trig functions. That was just a way to kind of start out, kind of show you what to do, look at it. Yeah, like I said, I know y'all probably are pretty familiar with that, but I wanted to make sure that we got a grade in, and we'll continue to do that. I'll continue to post some grades or post some questions and quizzes, and just please make sure that you're answering those and doing those, because your grade will come from that. Okay, so we're still learning, we're still going through, we're still doing all of our stuff. So be disciplined and make sure that you're still doing your work. Okay. All right. So for today, we're going to go through and we're going to start 5.3. Okay. And I'm just going to keep rolling right through this, guys. I'm going to do 5.3 today. It's going to be a pretty quick lesson. It's we could get into a ton of detail on it, or we could get into more detail than we're going to. I'm going to look at a couple problems today, or actually I think there's 2. And then we'll go from there. Now, on the Google Classroom, I'm going to share some links with you throughout of all the different identities and things that you need to know. Okay, we've looked at all the stuff like sine squared plus cosine squared equals 1, and all those different Pythagorean identities and quotient identities and reciprocal identities. I'm going to work on that and send you links so you have all that stuff. And another one of these that you're going to need to know, and again, this could be a great quiz question. Okay, this could be something that I ask a real basic. Okay, is the sum and difference identities for cosine. Okay, so here's what this is. Okay, so I'm gonna present this to you right now, and then afterwards we'll look at a video of it. Okay, or an example problem. So the sum and difference identities for cosine is this: if I have cosine and then inside I have 2 angles, A plus B. Obviously they're different angles. Okay, so it's cosine A plus B. This can be rewritten, okay? And like I said, we're not going to spend a ton of time on this concept. I'm going to work a problem or two, and then we're going to move on. But I still need you to know these 2, or these sum and difference identities for cosine. So when it's the sum of 2 angles, cosine, it's cosine A, cosine B. So it's like you distribute it, but then it's opposite of what you think. It's minus sine A, sine B. Okay? So again, it's opposite of what you would think there. Secondly, if it is the difference identity, cosine of A minus being a difference, then it's cosine A, cosine B. That means multiply together, plus, so it's opposite of what you think, sine A, sine B. Okay? So again, it's seeing this online, doing all this online, is kind of probably a difficult concept to look at, because we don't have some stuff in front of us and can kind of see the visuals and all that good stuff. But I do want you to learn these. Okay, I do want you to know this, and like I said, I'm going to send out a link. That way we can all look at them, or you can have them with you, have them together, and then maybe we'll understand that, okay? All right, so when I get back here, we're going to work our example. All right, so now we're going to look at our first problem. And I've written down the identity that we're going to use. I've written down cosine A minus B is equal to cosine A times cosine B plus sine A sine B. Okay, and the problem here, the problem is saying find the exact value of, find the exact value of 15 degrees, okay? Now, that should be cosine of 15 degrees. I'm sorry. I wrote that down incorrect. So it says find the exact value of the cosine of 15 degrees. All right. So if I'm doing this, okay, when it says exact value, okay, when it says exact value, I'm sorry, it looks like there's a glare. So I apologize if there is, okay? When it says the exact value of cosine of 15, this means you don't just plug this in your calculator, okay? So what they're wanting us to do, or what they're asking us to do, is we have 15 degrees, okay? We want to rewrite this as either a sum or a difference, okay? But when we rewrite it, we want to rewrite it with angles that we know, okay? And the angles that we know, or the angles that we're supposed to know, okay, are the angles like 30, 45, 60. Why? Those are kind of like the right triangles, okay? The right angles, the angles that make up our standard right triangle. So we're going to rewrite it, and for what we're looking at here, let's just rewrite it as either 30, 45, and 60. Okay, let's just use those three angles, okay? 30, 45, 60, all right? So how can we rewrite 15 degrees using two of those angles? Again, 30, 45, 60, okay? And for this problem right here, of course, again, you kind of got a couple options on that, but we're going to go ahead and say, okay, that's 45. So we're going to rewrite this as cosine of 45 degrees, right? 45 degrees minus 30 degrees, okay? So I just rewrote it like that, all right? Now, once I rewrite it like this, I go and I say, okay, let's look at these, okay? So we're going to fill in these. So this is the same thing. Again, it's the same thing. I'm going to write it right here as the cosine of 45 degrees times the cosine of 30 degrees. See, this is like A. This is like B, right? So cosine of 30 degrees plus sine of 45 degrees sine of 30 degrees, okay? So again, I just rewrote it like that using my identity, okay? So I just rewrote it like that using my identity, okay? Now, the next thing that we're going to do, okay, and if you'll remember back, we filled in a chart doing this where I ask you, okay, hey, you need to memorize these. You need to remember the basic trig functions, sine, cosine, and tangent of 30 degrees, sine and cosine tangent of 45, sine and cosine of 60. We also did 90 and all that stuff, okay? And I'm going to send you a link to all that. There is a chart that we can use, okay? But when I'm doing that, and like I said, I haven't gone back and looked in here, but the cosine, or what page it's on, but like I said, I'll share that with you. The cosine of 45 degrees right here, this is the same thing as the square root of 2 over 2. Okay? And then it's times the cosine of 30, well, that's the same thing as the square root of 3 over 2. Okay? Plus this, the sine of 45 is the square root of 2 over 2. And the sine of 30 is 1/2. Okay? It's 1/2. All right? So what you're doing is you're taking an angle. You're rewriting it as a sum or difference. You're rewriting it into angles that you know. The 45, the 30, 45, and 60. Okay? And then when you know those, now you're simplifying. Okay? So let me show you. So now we're just doing our math here. So it's the right here, multiply these two together, square root of 2 times square root of 3. That's square root of 6 over 2. And then right here plus square root of 2 times 1 was the square root of 2. And we're just same thing, so write these down. Okay? So now I have the square root of 6 over 2 plus square root of 2 over 2. When you're adding these together, I'm sorry guys, look at what I just did right there and look at the mistake I just made. Okay? Look at that. All right? I am multiplying these two. So I multiply numerators, multiply denominators. So I apologize, see? So that should be 4, right? I was looking as I was already adding them. So it's square root of 2 times square root of 3, square root of 6. 2 times 2 is 4. All right? Square root of 2 times 1 is square root of 2. 2 times 2 is 4. Okay? So please make sure that you see what I did there. Okay? All right? I mean, obviously, and not make the mistake I made. Again, we're multiplying. I just added them. It should be that. Okay? Now we are adding them. Same denominator. You can write down the denominator one time, and you can add the numerators. But when you add those guys, those are not like, okay? There's nothing we can really do. So we just leave it like that, okay? That you can just leave it simply as the square root of 6 plus the square root of 2 over 4, okay? We're not going to add those together. We're not going to add the square root of 6 and the square root of 2 together. You can multiply them, but we're not going to add them, okay? So please make sure you look through this, and this is kind of the type of problem I'll expect you to be able to do, and then we'll kind of move on from there, okay? All right, so when we get back, we're going to do example 2. All right, so now we're going to look at example 2, and actually, if you're following along in the book, this is example 1C, I believe. Okay, so we did. The first example I did was 1A, and this one's 1C. I just labeled it example 2. This one's a good bit easier. It works out a little bit nicer. It's not quite as bad, okay? So what they're doing here is they're saying the same thing. Find the exact value. And now for this, they've got cosine 87 times cosine 93 minus, and then the same deal. Sine 87 sine 93. Well, if we go back to our sum and difference identities for cosine, see right here, when I have it in this form, it's just adding these two angles, okay? So it's written out already, okay? It's already written out. The cosine A plus B is written out, and this is the expanded version, okay? So we can rewrite this as the cosine of 87 plus 93 degrees, okay? So when we do that, right? So we do that, and that's what we get. So we get cosine of 87 plus 93, all right? Well, when you add those together, you get cosine of 180 degrees, okay? So we get the cosine there of 180 degrees. Now, we know this. How do we know this, you might ask? Remember, think about the unit circle, okay? We always look at the unit circle. Start at 0, then we work our way up to 90. But when we work our way up to 90, remember we work through those angles that are the very common ones, right? We work through the 30, the 45, the 60, up to 90, okay? And then we go through the second quadrant down to 180. We go through the third quadrant down to 270 and all the way back around to 360 degrees. And that is the unit circle with all those common angles or angles that you're expected to know, okay? And there again, I will send you this, okay? So this is what we call a quadrantal angle. It's the cosine, it's 180 degrees, right? Okay? So it's not in a quadrant, it's on the axis, so to speak. So the cosine of 180, again, is equal to -1. Okay? And remember, if you think about that, we think about a cosine as being the x value. Remember, we talk about cosine being the x value, okay? So at 180 degrees, that's the point -1, 0. The x value is -1, right? So if I did the sine of this, right, it would be 0, okay? So please, like I said, I'm going to send you out the unit circle. I'll send you all that stuff. I'm going to attach a lot of stuff to the Google Classroom so you'll see, be able to look at, be able to do, okay? So, but for this right here, guys, I want you to work these problems, okay? And we're just going to go through, I'm just going to give you a couple of problems here. As a matter of fact, I'm going to put that on your Google Classroom, okay? So I will put your assignment on the Google Classroom right now because I'm trying to look at maybe for some other stuff, okay? But anyway, so this is lesson 5.3. So anyways, like I said, I hope everybody's able to keep up with these. Hope everybody's in the Google Classroom, and I hope everybody has a great day.